to see you again too. Got another jersey in the house. Love it. Love it. You guys don't know. I just love seeing your faces. Seattle. Oh, Seattle, one of my favorite towns. Silver Spring, Massachusetts. Oh my goodness, I love it. I have the big TV set up so I can read. Idaho. I am wanting to come to Idaho to do a book trip. Texas. My goodness. Well, listen, welcome and happy day. You, Sherry, I haven't even had coffee yet. So, Spokane. Anyone? Oh, I love it. Houston. Oh, Houston. You guys have a great food scene too. Austin, Texas. I always want to go to Austin. All right, Connecticut. One just popped by me there. Will this be available for replay? Yes, Julie, we are already recording. So happy day, happy home stretch to Thanksgiving. I'm so delighted that y'all have joined me today. I already do know the Bronx. So, oh, Lisa, I have to tell you, my daughter met Derek Jeter this week. We'll talk later. All right, so I'm Chris Van Bloom, and I am here with AARP Maryland, and we are going to do a little pre-Thanksgiving cooking class. I love my sunny California ladies. And today, I'm so astounded by where everyone's coming from. New Mexico, you guys make me so happy. Thank you so much. We are going to do a couple of dishes. One you may want to include for Thanksgiving, and the other, well, I'm going to end up taking it to an appetizer tonight at a party. Oh, Atlanta. I love Atlanta. Virginia Highlands. Oh, love it. All righty. Iowa. You guys keep them coming. I love it. So we are going to make a stuffed acorn squash. And I was just talking to Eleanor, who is with us today. Eleanor is our moderator today. Hi, Jacksonville. Nice to have you, Sheila. Eleanor is your key to me, baby. So if you have a question, pop it in the chat. And if I miss it, New York, heck of a town. If I miss it, Eleanor is going to help moderate the comments. If this is your first class with us, welcome. I'm so delighted and excited to have you here. If, like Lisa from the Bronx, you guys have come to classes previously, welcome back, and thank you so much for trusting me with an hour of your Saturday. You can see Eleanor just put in the chat that she's here to help answer any questions. Anything that's a technical question about the Zoom or about, good morning, Diane, or about the recipes, or, you know, when are you going to get them? Where are they going to be? Things like that. Eleanor is your friend. Anything food and cooking wise, that's all me. Let's get started. Best hour of your day, Francis. All right, Francis, bear with me because I went to the grocery store this morning. Rookie move, I know, because we're less than a week out from Thanksgiving. I was leaving the store at 8 a.m. They have the big clock outside of the store. Oh, hello. We may want to go ahead and mute that. All right. Eleanor, I think Ginger might need to be muted there.
Yes,
I see she's still on. All right. So I go in, and that store this morning is packed. Hey, Delaware. That store is packed. And did they have a single acorn squash? No. Was I freaking out in my heart? Yes. But did I know I'd find one somewhere? Also, yes. They had some in the back. I swear I've never had an acorn squash so fresh in my whole life, which is crazy. So it is like, you know, a football. It is a solid squash. We're going to cut this baby in half. Are we ready? All right, you did all your shopping last night. Good job, Meg. I love it. Alrighty, so I also, and if you're going to be doing any cooking this week, you're not too late, but you might want to consider finding your local knife sharpener to go and get your knife sharpened. I don't know if you can tell, but my knife bar is almost bare for me because I took all of my knives in, with the exception of just a few, hey, North Carolina, to get them sharpened so I would be ready. When you're cutting something like this, something big and really hard, you want to make sure you're using a really solid knife to do it. Now, some people, and you'll see, we're going to struggle a little here. That's okay. I'm prepared. All right. You'll see that this is a nice 8-inch chef's knife. I'm going a little off kilter. If I can get it. And then just do it a little at a time. Okay? Not a paring knife, not a utility knife. And we're going to do our best to cut it in half. Now, I have my friendly little compost bin. The town I live in does this very cool free composting program. Can the host, can you go ahead and spotlight me, please, Eleanor? Spotlight me and the...
You are spotlighted.
All right, we have
your close-up camera. So
okay.
that individual may just need to put you full screen.
Okay. All righty. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out, but we have this nifty composting program here. So they bring us a fresh bucket every week. It's a little nonprofit, and they take our scraps from the week before. I love it. It's so good. All righty. So I have found that we have, Sarah, that's a great idea. If you wanted to microwave your squash to soften it a little, but I would put some punctures in the skin to release any steam. You don't want it to explode. So that steam has to have a way to get out, okay? So I'm gonna take these, I'm not seasoning them at this point because I'm going to pop them in a pan with about a 1/2 inch of water. Water is going to help us. It's going to generate steam while we're going in there, excuse me, and it's going to help everything get nice and soft. 375 oven. Best part of this dish, you can make it 2 days ahead. Heck, you can make it and freeze it. Isn't that great? I used to make this when I was a personal chef. I would make this dish a lot for a couple of my clients because it's a great dish. The filling is really nice. And we're going to go ahead and get started on the filling, which is a brown rice filling. So this dish is even vegan. Don't get put off by that. It's okay. All right. But we're going to start by cooking some brown rice. Judy, you should, if you look at the AARP, the general AARP calendar, they will have up all of the classes that are coming on. And even though I want you to come to mine, there are tons of great classes that AARP offers that are live and happening all the time. Also, we're going to be offering classes all winter long, just so you know, it's going to be really fun. Now, here is a great tip. If you are not a rice cooker kind of person, this is how I learned to cook rice in cooking school. I grew up on like a minute rice type of thing, parboiled rice, that was really quick. What we're going to do whenever you want to cook rice, this is the only way I cook it. I take whatever I'm using, white rice or brown rice. I get a pot of boiling water, just like you're making pasta, right? Lots of bubbles, really going. You saw I put some salt in it. And then I put the rice in and cook it just like it's pasta. That's it. White rice takes 13 minutes and then we'll drain it. Brown rice takes 34 minutes. So if you're cooking it, 2 to 1, right, to water, if you're cooking it that way with the lid on, that's going to take a solid hour. I think this is easier, longer at high altitude. Oh, Susie, thank you for that. I'm at such a low altitude, Maryland, right? Even though I'm toward the western side, we're not high up. I don't know if you're one of my Colorado ladies, but we're going to let this get to a boil and then we're going to pop. Yeah, there it is. I really want to get out there and check it out. Now we do want to wait until that water is at a boil, and I heated it up before you guys came in. But we want to get that rolling. All righty. In the meantime, let's start making the rest of our filling. And we're going to take an onion, and I'm only doing one squash. All right. Hey, Mary, you might want to mute that for us. Thank you, my dear. We're going to go ahead and cut our onion. And like I said, this dish could also be, it's a vegan dish as well, because I don't have any cheese or anything here, but you can doctor as you see fit. All righty. So we're gonna take that and take that. Oh, do me a favor. I was doing a little testing this week because I bought this cool little vegetable hash at a local store, and it's very finely diced sweet potato and butternut squash and red onion and thyme and sage, all those good stuffing kind of flavors is what I was thinking. So I decided to test it and make a Thanksgiving focaccia bread out of it. And now I'm going to use that. I have a little left. I'm going to make another loaf and use that to make my stuffing. And any PA girls, my Mechanicsburg friend, you should know this. We never called it stuffing. I never called it stuffing until I moved to New York and started hanging out with my husband's family. We always called it filling. Never called it stuffing, right? Always called it filling. That is, for me, for sure, my favorite Thanksgiving side. No question, I'm all about the stuffing. Tell me what yours is in the comments. Oh, and you know, I have a close second. Another PA thing, we do noodles. They're called Klusky noodles. It's a type of noodle. It's thin and it's a little thick, and you cook it in turkey broth. Dressing, we never called it dressing, Francis. Oh my gosh, that's way too fancy. That's way too fancy. If I told you that I spent this is not a joke, I spent every Thanksgiving, candied sweet potatoes, mashed potatoes, every Thanksgiving from the time I was born until I was 26, I spent at a cabin in the middle, green bean casserole. Oh, I love it. I love it. Not fancy. Ooh, chestnut. Cabin in the woods in Pennsylvania that my great grandfather built, and it was 4 rooms. It was a little tiny cabin, and we would all sleep in sleeping bags. The grown-ups, the parents, all got a bed, and then we had an outhouse. There was no indoor plumbing. I kid you not. Ricotta cheese. Oh, I love the Italian Thanksgiving. Woo, this onion. But we spent every Thanksgiving there. I didn't know there was a parade at Crescent. Oh, like crescent rolls. I didn't know there was a parade. I didn't know football was a thing for Thanksgiving because we were so deep in the mountains and we were in the valley. We were in Smith Valley. And there, yeah. There was no radio reception. There was no TV. There was nothing. So it was really a down home. Oh, wild rice. It was a really down home experience. I loved it. I loved it. All right, my rice is going to go in. I'm going to set a timer. Set a timer. There we go. Once you get that rice in, just give it a stir. You don't have to manhandle it or manage it too much. You just want to make sure it's going and it's moving. An occasional stir will do for you. All right, let's get over in here. Oh, here, do you want to see my hair? You're going to look at yourselves. Can you see I've got you on the TV there? There it is. All right. So I'm going to saute an onion, and I actually want it to get pretty soft. We don't care if you came in late. We're just happy you're here. You know, we had over 300 of you register for today's class. I love it. All right. So I'm going to turn this down just a little bit from where I had it because, excuse me, go wash my hands real quick. Because we want to get soft. It doesn't have to brown. We want it to get nice and soft. Perfect. Laura and Mrs. S, you two both look so together this morning. My goodness, I don't look that good when I put effort in. Holy heck. All right, so I've got that going. I've got my onion going a little bit. And we're gonna, once our onion is cooked, we're going to go ahead and set this aside. We'll put it all in a bowl to get it mixed up. Repeat the minutes for white and brown. Absolutely, Linda. White rice, 13, brown, 34. Now, I do use a rice cooker a lot. I have started using my rice cooker a lot more. I only used to use it when I made sushi. But I've gotten, once I started cleaning off my countertops, I found I had a little more space for it. All right. So I'm going to turn that down. We're going to let that go a little bit. And while that's going, I'm going to get my turkey meatballs going because turkey meatballs are fabulous. Oh, Kathy, you made the caramel apples. Oh, I love to hear that. That caramel apple dish is a win. It is so darn tasty. I'm making that for another class tomorrow. I liked it so much. I think I might make it on Monday too and just post it so that everyone can get in there if they want. All right, let's talk meatballs so we can get those cooking while our onions just gently saute and our rice cooks and our squash starts to get a little tender. And we'll go ahead and move this back over here. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. So I think we're good there. Do you have a website? I do. We can get to that then. Alrighty. So for our meatballs. Now, when I did grab my Thanksgiving turkey, I'm hosting Thanksgiving this year. I feel super lucky, and I gave up a little control because I'm a good cook, right? I like cooking, and I have a vision for what my table is gonna be, right? I'm not so much into all of the tablescapes because my house isn't super big. We have 17 people coming this year, so we're gonna have people on couches and chairs, and it's gonna be a whole very casual thing. But the food is my control, right? I like to have what I have. I plan the menu out. I make sure everything works beautifully together. This year, I gave up the control because I started thinking about it. I'm the person that loves to contribute, right? So I'm going to this shindig tonight, last minute. I wanted to make sure I could take something. And I didn't want to take that away from my guests. I'm like, you can bring what you want. My daughter's bringing cranberry sauce and cocktails. So she's not getting too fancy. For our meatballs, alrighty, for our meatballs, I have a pound each of ground turkey and ground pork. Now it's not sausage, it's ground pork. I like it because of the little extra fattiness it brings, but it still is not a fatty recipe, which is really good. When you're using ground turkey, I want to point out, you want to avoid ground turkey breast. It just doesn't have enough fat in it. It's, I think, 1% fat. And it's not enough. It's going to be dry and it's not going to be delicious. All right. So we've got that 2 pounds in there. But I love bringing a little compost in. I added 2 whole eggs. And then let's just check our recipe because I don't want to steer you wrong. we're gonna add in some breadcrumbs. All right. We're gonna add in some milk. Now, have y'all ever heard of a panade? You can be fancy. If you're making a meatloaf or meatballs or something, sometimes what people like to do is make what's called a panade. And that's simply taking breadcrumbs, bread, milk, letting them soak together, and then mixing them up. It's kind of a base for your meatballs. We're not gonna bother with that. I did use, and you know what, Lisa, I actually went with panko today. I use fresh breadcrumbs sometimes. I just run them in a food processor, or I'll just crumble them if I'm feeling that vibe. But sure, I say use what you've got. Make it good. All right, we're gonna use a little bit of fennel. Now, I know Lisa in the Bronx, I know she's using some fennel, but I love to use some fennel seed. I use it in the pizza sauce, anything that's Italian. I love it. This isn't Italian, but it adds really nice flavor with the turkey and the pork. I don't want to get them stuck in my teeth. I have a bridge, right? So I don't want to get stuck in there. So I use a mortar and pestle. And I just get in there and give it a grind. You can buy already ground fennel if you like. I think this was $15 somewhere. Go to your local Goodwill. You'll be able to find one, trust me. I like this one because it's really heavy. It's a really heavy thing. And I'm just gonna take that and add it in there. All right, so let me give you the measurements. We're gonna use a pound each of ground pork and ground turkey, 2 large eggs. We're about to add some garlic. So we're gonna do 2 garlic cloves. I did a cup of the breadcrumbs, 2/3 of a cup of milk, and then I just did half a teaspoon. I might have gone a little more aggressive on the fennel seed. More garlic, please. All right, Lisa, that's enough out of you. Listen, you can do anything you want here. If you are a garlic lady, you want all the garlic, use all the garlic. I get excited and my nose runs. Oh my God. All right, so 2 cloves of garlic, and then we're also gonna add in some fresh sage. Now, I am a happy budget conscious girly right now because my sage, it doesn't look as good as it did, but it is still popping. So I have some sage that I'm gonna use here. Not that big dead leaf, but we'll do some sage, pull off the leaves. And I'm in Frederick, Maryland, so mid-Atlantic. My thyme, fabulous. My oregano, fabulous. My basil, so dead, absolutely gone. Did not like that first. It's like that girl in high school that can't handle anything. First slightly cold day, it's gone. It's out. All right. I'm gonna just pull these off. Oh, it smells so good. It just smells like Thanksgiving. All right. I'm gonna take the root end off of that garlic because I don't want that in there. The smaller your garlic, the more pungent it is. All right, and we've talked about this before. That's why you get chicken with 40 cloves of garlic, and it's garlicky, but it's not, make sure whoever you're with is having it too, but it's not too overpowering because they're whole garlic cloves. If you put 40 cloves of minced garlic, whoo, and yes, I'm doing my own garlic. Here, let me show y'all can see. I don't buy it already minced because I just don't like how it tastes. And I feel that it's hard. So I'm actually gonna take this garlic, and it's a little big for me. So I'm gonna put a tiny sprinkle of salt, and then I'm gonna keep going at it. Elephant garlic, oh my gosh, Tammy, that would be gigantic.
I have to try to, collect the stone when it comes out. Well, that's freaking hard. And she goes, well, you might not be able to rest.
All right, now don't forget, if you have a question, pop it in the chat, but you may want to mute. All right, so I'm gonna take my garlic and I'm just gonna use the side of my knife to squish it, right? And I have my knife off the board in the back. I don't know if you can tell there, but this is called pasted garlic. And this is how I'll take those big hunks and make them really small. Now you can buy garlic paste in a tube. I think that stuff's okay. I like that better than the jarred, but don't ever let anybody stop you. Whatever you use, if you're happy with it, then you're happy with it. Then we're good. That's how I feel. I know I've spent so much time having people tell me what to do and what not to do. No, like if you like it, you'll like it. All right, and I am just gonna mince this sage. Now we're going into meatballs, so we want it pretty tiny. Excuse me. All right. There we go. All righty. Feeling pretty good here. So that was supposed to be 4 teaspoons of sage, just so you know. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. Now, I know a lot of us are watching our salt. As a heart attack survivor, my doctor really wants me to watch my salt. I'm gonna add some pepper too. If you wanna taste this, it's really important that you not taste it raw. But when I was in school, what we used to do would be mix it, and then we would take a little tiny bit of it, excuse me, we take a little tiny bit of it and cook it in a saute pan. And then we taste it for seasoning. And that way we knew if we were good or not on it, because it is kind of stinky to make the whole thing and then be like, I don't know if it's good or not. So we're gonna get in there. And if you want to beat your eggs ahead of time, you can. You should be able to see. All right, there we go. Make sure you've got your meats mixing up in there. And I have my oven set to 450 degrees for this. Now I have one of these double ovens. It's a single oven with 2 ovens, if that makes sense. It's not like a double wall oven. It's got a little small oven on the top and then a regular oven on the bottom. It doesn't have a drawer underneath. Boy, oh boy, I love it. I love it, especially with Thanksgiving coming up. If you are hosting, put it in the chat for me. I want to know who's hosting and how many people we're talking about. Oh wait. And I want to show you, love it, Mary. One of the tricks when you're working with a meat mixer hosting, did you use soy? I didn't use soy yet. I'll put that in. The soy is for the other dish. Okay, so one of the tricks when you're working with ground meats is to dip your hands in cold water to make your meatballs. Now, I just want to show you. You've got one that's kind of rough and one that's kind of smooth. It's the difference in the cold water. It's how it acts with the fat. So I keep a bowl of, a small bit, yeah, small's good. And we want all of our meatballs to be about the same. Now you can use a scooper if you want. I have lots of different scoopers, but then I'm just touching it twice. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it this way. And I'm gonna make these ever so slightly smaller because I'm gonna take them as an appetizer, right? Instead of doing the whole thing. And I think I usually get a solid 18 like big meatballs out of it. So I'll probably get a lot. I won't make them all here. And whenever your hands start to get a little sticky, just dunk them in that cold water. It really helps so much. And turkey is tricky. Turkey, because it is poultry, so it's just a little bit of a tricky thing to work with. It doesn't have the same, it just doesn't work the same way that if you're working with beef or pork alone, that those would. All right, and I wanted to be sure, I had a quick question for all of y'all. Can you hear me okay? Because when I put this on the big screen, I can't use my AirPods. Yes, okay, good. Thank you. I was just worried about, because I like having it all in my ears, but I also like, it's really nice to be able to see all the comments coming in. Thank you, Ellen, I appreciate it. All right. So I'm gonna do 3 more here, and then I'll finish them after class. Oh, thanks, Jan. I really like it. Oh, and I'm gonna start working up menus for the winter. So if there's anything special you want to see, I'm kind of thinking cozy for January, something really cozy. And then one of the things I'm thinking of doing is like a class where maybe you bring your grandkids in with you, something like that. Okay. Now let's wash those hands really good. Anytime you use ground meat of any type, you got to make sure you really wash your hands, and you really wash whatever you're using, okay? So this guy, I definitely want to hit with some hot soapy water because I'm going to be using him. There we go, for our rice filling. All right. And all ground meats, regardless of the type that they are supposed to be cooked to 165 degrees. Yeah, I have the gloves. I have gloves too, Natalie. I don't know. I'd rather wash my hands 100 times, I think. I'm ridiculous. I know it. All righty. I'm going to take these guys, pop them in my nice hot oven. Let's set yet another timer. Those should go about 15. Oh yeah, we're doing great. How do we feel? We feel good? I feel good. All right, let's take this. Awesome. I use these little guys all over the place. I'm going to give my onion a little stir. Oh yeah, that onion looks so good now. Alrighty, so let's do this. Let's just work on our filling a little bit because I know that's going to come up here soon. I'm going to take my onions. How long to bake the meatballs? About 15 minutes. All right, that's my burner telling me, hey. Alrighty, so I'm gonna just take those onions, set them aside. That's where we'll mix all of that. And we're gonna use some pumpkin seeds, some pepitas. Alrighty, now these are not what come straight out with the white husk on them. Did you guys do that? Did you like take the seeds out of your pumpkins at Halloween and then roast them? My mom used to do that, and I always didn't love them, but I ate them, I think because they were salty and crunchy, right? So now these, you can buy pepitas, which is the inside of that. And these are much tastier, okay? Now, we're gonna go ahead and toast these because like nuts, they just get a lot more flavor when you toast them. So I still have a little bit of oil in there. I love them. And I will tell you this, when I buy them, I buy a decent sized bag. They're not expensive. And when I use them, I use whatever. Then I wrap it up and throw it in the freezer. I keep it in the freezer for sure because we don't want them to go bad. And it's just like I store all of my nuts in the freezer, right? So it just gives them a little longer life. Now these guys are flat. They're pretty darn flat, and they will puff a bit when they're ready. We're not deep frying them. Heck, I didn't even add any extra oil. I just added the pepitas to what was already in there. The heat is going to help us. But when I say they puff up, they get almost roundish. They don't turn into balls. They're still elongated, but they just get puffy. They just get a little puffy. And it doesn't take very long. These are great for salads if you want to add a little crunch to a salad. My husband can't eat any nuts, so this is a nice thing for him, right? Gives it a little crunch. They'll get a little brown for us. We just want to coax out a little flavor. And these are unsalted. Important to remember that as we go through. All righty. Our rice is cooking like gangbusters. I'm gonna pull out my, let's go. I just spent time this week cleaning out cupboards, so I'm feeling very proud of myself right now. All right, so I think you can see these pepitas. They just round a little bit. I'm just gonna add those in there. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And I think I just got word that the squash is almost done. And I'm not going to run any water or anything in that pan, just so you know. And we're going to give the squash 5 more minutes, just to be sure. All right. So I also have dried currants. And I love dried currants. Boy, do I dislike raisins. But I love dried currants. We're going to add these into our filling, okay? Because it's going to give us a touch of sweetness to that nice filling. We're also going to add some dried oregano. Little dried oregano and a little dried basil. If you have fresh and you want to use them, go ahead. I usually do put the herbs into my hand because then I can give them a little smush like that. Get a little more oomph out of it. And we're going to use a bit more sage. Alrighty. Just love the sage. It works really well in here. When you're doing a dish that doesn't have meat, and a lot of time meat is the star of the show, or it doesn't have cheese, and you could some Monterey Jack cheese or mild cheddar could be lovely in this dish. But again, I'm trying to do something that's just a little bit healthier, a little nicer for us. These little guys. Oh my gosh, they're adorable. Okay, so let's find that knife. And we're just going to mince this up as well. I've done this as a main dish. I think it's really nice. I'm doing a class for a group. Cooking like pie. Oh, thanks, Denise. Thanks for helping. Denise gets a gold star today. Thank you. If you guys take one trick today, I want you to take this rice trick. It'll change your life. I kid you not. Okay. I have a group that I'm cooking for, and they have a vegan. So I'm adding this in so that they have something delicious. Recipe says to bake the squash. We're baking it first. All right. And then we are going to hold off on our soy sauce and any salt or anything until we've got the rice ready to go. And the rice has another 8 minutes. So we're going to keep that just going. Going. And in the meantime, let's go back to meatballs and let's talk about our blades. Now, this isn't really a sauce that the meatballs go into yet, but I'm gonna show you how we can make that, alrighty? So I have ye old cranberry sauce with the lines and everything. My daughter insists that's the only good cranberry sauce. I just can't do it, man. So I've got that, and the jellied cranberry sauce, this stuff melts so easily. So we're gonna pop this up here. And then we're gonna let that just get its melt started. We're gonna add some flavor to it. Thank you, I'm so happy to have had you here. Thank you so much. Now, it calls for some fresh orange juice. I am all out of oranges. They didn't have any just oranges at the grocery store this morning. I got there early. So I'm just gonna use some of my clementines. They're oranges. Oh, and they smell so good. And we're looking for, I believe, 2 tablespoons, yeah, of orange juice. I might add a little more. Does anybody have, this is a strange question, does anybody have a dog that loves clementines? The dog that I used to have, Munchie the Wonder Puggle, he was the greatest. And he and I would eat clementines together. Because you know, they're so fragrant. So you would crack one open and he would come running. So now every time I have a clementine, I have a moment. All right, we're also gonna add some dark brown sugar. If you only have light brown sugar, that's fine. If you don't wanna add sugar, that's also fine, all right? And we're gonna do some ginger root, because ginger root is so good with cranberry. And I'm using a spoon to peel the ginger root. You don't really want to use a peeler. It's going to take too much off. And the ginger root should be nice and tender. Now, young ginger is, I'm thinking about Gilligan's Island now. Young ginger has like a pink peel to it, pink skin. And it's really, you won't ever find that in your grocery store. If you get to go to a cool Asian market, they may have young ginger there. And I don't know if you can keep the peel on that or you still have to take it off, but we're always gonna have to pull it off of ours here. You can also go to the freezer section of your store and you can pull, they will have frozen ginger and garlic. And I've talked about this before. It comes in like, it looks like a tiny little ice cube tray. And it's a teaspoon measurement. And there are no preservatives because it's frozen. And I just think it's the greatest. All right, see, that's already starting to do its thing a little. I'm gonna take our ginger and I'm gonna grate it. Right? And you can do as much as you like. Ginger is really fibrous. You need to be prepared for that. Let's see if we can, oh, there we go. Woo! It's not like last month with the fire alarm going off or the smoke alarm going off. Now I just have flying ginger. Now, some people say you should use the grater upside down or something crazy like that. This will come right out. Oh my goodness. And does it smell phenomenal? So good. So I'm just gonna grate a little more because I like it. And if you want, you could mince it, but I do like that it's so tender that you're not gonna get little bits in it. All right, there we go. A little more. All righty, now you can see over here, frozen. It's so handy and so easy. And you know, I don't use a ton of ginger in my cooking. So it's actually really nice I find that one lasts me for a while. I love the garlic too, the frozen garlic, the little bits of garlic. And for those of you that are wondering what I'm talking about, it's like this. I'll show you. It comes, you can see when it's all crazy, but it comes in like a little ice cube tray thing, and you just pop it out when you want it. Ginger and garlic, they're so good. But the garlic, I use a lot more garlic. That's just for you, Lisa. But I use a lot more garlic in my cooking than I do ginger. So, okay. You know, Lisa, I don't store garlic in the freezer. Do you? Does that work well? I go through a lot of garlic, so it's not like I have it for a long time. I am going to put a little pinch of salt in there to kind of balance it out. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. And if you want to use a whole bean, a whole cranberry, oh, that's great. Love it. Whoever that is, they're brilliant. So good stuff. If you want to use a whole bean cranberry sauce, you can totally do that. You can totally do that. It's really whatever you like. Chef April. We love Chef April. All right, so let's just get this going. And I'm going to go ahead and pull out, oh, from Milk Street. Yeah, Milk Street's fantastic. They almost are as good as this. All righty. Have you ever melted off your mascara when you open the oven? Have you ever done this? It's Barbara. Have you ever done this? You open it and you get that initial hot air and you can feel it shrink. Well, thank you, Francis. You can feel it shrink on your eyelashes. It's bizarre. All right, so I would say, yeah, it's not collapsing. Oh, grate a good amount of fresh ginger and store it. That's smart, Rose. I don't either, Tammy, but I put it on for you guys. I tried to gussy up a little. Okay, I'm just gonna pour that water out. We used it here, but we don't need to use it any longer. Now, I'm gonna take this. You can see, oh, good. Oh, thanks, Francis. All right, so you can see that these are pretty big. I mean, that's a fairly sizable portion, I think. All right, I'm gonna let this cook down. Let's see if we can pull out those. Oh my goodness, it's all coming together. Woo! All right, it is all coming together. All right, let me show you. Now again, this is just, don't open up. This is just a few of those meatballs, right? I still have a whole bunch, but what fun is it to watch me do a whole ton of meatballs? Here's what we're gonna do though. I'm gonna take a little whisk over here. And let's move this camera over. There we go. There we go. And then I'm gonna take and just use that whisk to break down that cranberry sauce. It just needs a little love. Francis, it's just like you. Getting the love. All right. So it just needs a little bit of that. Now, this is really thick, okay? So I like to take my silicone brush. Let's move that over to the side. We'll move all of these things over. Move this. And brush my meatballs. I know, you're like, why are we brushing them? Shouldn't we put them in the sauce? We can, but you have options. If you want, you can take your little sauce and just go like this. and brush all your meatballs and serve them on a platter, not in a sauce. Okay, this is a terrific way to serve these. I love it. You can do this whole thing, works really well. Other options, you can take this cranberry mixture, and I have a little bit of 155. It may keep them going to 165 or 160. You should be fine at 155 because if you glaze them, we're gonna pop them back in the oven to cook the glaze on them a little bit. If you decide to make it more of a sauce, so I'm gonna add a little bit of chicken broth, just a little at a time, to make it a bit saucier. There we go. Then we can cook it in that sauce and that will take them up to your 165. Okay? I love that you're temping your meatballs though. That gives me such joy. All right, so I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna actually add the rest. Slide that over there. And then for me, I'm gonna take all of these little meatballs and pop them in. Now, they're hot, just so you know. And they'll continue to cook and you'll get that extra 10 degrees. Nice checking on that, Meg. And I'll just let them soak in a little. And then that'll be it. I added a little bit of chicken broth. That's it, just a little bit of chicken broth. Oh, good. And our brown rice is done. I'm gonna drain this off. And I did get a little aggressive with the amount of brown rice that I cooked because I just cooked what was left in the bag. I'm basically doing half a recipe here with this. So I may not add all of this. 1 cup of cooked rice should do me, but look at this. That rice, oh, I love brown rice. I don't know if y'all love brown rice. I love brown rice. It is so good. All right, so we have our currants, and they're gonna soften with the heat from the rice. We have our pepitas, we have our onions, we have our fresh sage, and we are gonna add a little bit of soy to it. So you can see, sure, use wild rice. Absolutely, that would be delicious. Soy sauce is super salty, so we're not gonna add salt yet. Yeah, organic brown basmati rice, phenomenal. I do have to say, I think the wild rice, yes, you can use dried cranberries. If you're using dried cranberries though, chop them a little. That is just incredibly tasty. All right. I take my squash. I'm not gonna hold it. It's way too hot. What am I thinking? And I'm gonna stuff it with this. Let me get a spoon. Excuse me. All right, and I like to get it so it's mounded up. This looks really great on a platter. And I will say, you have an option on serving this. If you're looking at this and going, wow, that is big. Totally respect that. You could also take your half of a squash and cut it into a couple of wedges. Here, let me show you one. We could do like this, where we're gonna take it. I'm gonna get a plate so you can see. And this is a big platter. And if you wanted to serve this maybe as a Thanksgiving side, you could cut it into, I'd say, 4 wedges. Ooh. All right. More or less here. Put on a pretty platter. have them laying over maybe a little bit, like that. Give them a little room between. And then you hit it with the filling. Kind of in between and over top, like that. And then serve that. Make it really pretty. Put it on a bed of parsley. You know, put it on something that looks really nice. I'd love it on a long platter, something along those lines. And now instead of being a main, oh, I missed that question. Instead of being a main, now it's a side, right? And you can take, let's take a couple sprigs of parsley, and we can just make it pretty. By the way, this is how you should store your parsley and your dill and your cilantro and all of that. So I might lay that down first. Do it a little like that. And then if you wanted, you could do a little sprinkle of parsley. Otherwise, you take this whole shebang, you take this, pop it back in the oven, make sure it gets nice and hot, okay? You could sprinkle a little cheese on the top if that was your vibe. Let the cheese melt. Those are your two options right there, okay? So, side dish, and remember, you can make the components ahead of time. So the day before, 2 days before, you can have that squash cooked. Now you'll have to reheat it, right? But that's okay. And then with our meatballs, instead of popping them back in the oven, now I just have them with a little bit of a sauce. Perfect. And that's it. Look at us. 11:58. So just a little snack. I have little frills. And just so you all know, I can basically see the first sentence that you put out. I'm so sorry. I'm delighted to have you back. I'm so glad, Sherry. It's really, listen, all of this freezes. This is fantastic. It's new, it's fresh. Don't try to add too many new things to your Thanksgiving table. People want comfort, especially now. Our world is crazy. People want comfort and tradition, and they want to stick to all of that. And you can add, like, I always try one new thing a year, but this is so good, healthy, tasty. I promise that filling is shockingly delicious. So there you go. Oh, Ishi, thank you so much. I enjoyed having you in class. Thank you, Shirley and Jan. Yes, no reasons ever. Thank